Hello there, friends of Unity Joy of Life. There's a story about a bus driver, and he's driving a bunch of senior citizens to Las Vegas. And about 20 minutes into the trip, this one elderly woman makes her way up to the front and she offers the bus driver a handful of almonds. And he says, "Oh, thank you so much. I am starving. This is a lifesaver. Thank you so much." Well, another 20 minutes later, she comes back with another handful. It's like every 20 minutes, another handful, and then another handful. And finally, the bus driver says, "These almonds, they're amazing, and thank you so much for giving them to me, but why aren't you ladies eating them yourselves?" And she says, "Well, we're all elderly and our teeth aren't that strong. So we can't really chew the almonds anymore. But we really like sucking the chocolate off of them." Ew! What a way to start a spiritual lesson, right? But honestly, that little story has something profound to say. And that is, the bus driver thought that he understood the whole situation, but he only had part of the story. And isn't that true for all of us? In the Course in Miracles, it says, "Today I will judge nothing that occurs. I will not think I understand the whole from the bits of my perception, which are all that I can see." That's all you can see is your own perception. I love this. Isn't it beautiful? We are constantly trying to make whole stories out of partial information. We see one moment, we hear one conversation, one disappointment, one circumstance. Maybe we hear news on one station, and then we change the channel and it's the same story, but in a completely different way of presenting it. And we think we know what it all means. And maybe we even repeat a story as gospel truth, but we don't always have the whole picture. Years ago, when I went to my first year of college in Mexico, there were giant saguaro cactuses like everywhere, and I thought, man, this is dangerous. It was like all around the property of the college, and I thought they were ugly. I thought they were dangerous. They were covered in needles, and honestly, I thought that nature just made a huge mistake because they were ugly. But later, I learned that those very cactuses contain life-saving water that have rescued people lost in the desert for centuries. What I judged as useless are actually life-giving. We don't always see the whole picture. One time, I remember hearing this story. Some friends of mine, they ended up taking care of a dog that they never wanted. They weren't dog people, but the owner never came back. And my friends looked at each other and just said, this does not work for us. And yet, that dog became one of the most loyal, one of the most loving family companions they have ever experienced. We don't always see the whole picture. Another story. There was a couple who moved into a neighborhood and they ignored everyone. People would wave and they just would not wave back. Neighbors tried to welcome them and they would never answer the door. Everyone thought, well, these new people are rude. And then later they discovered that the couple had just lost a child and they were drowning in grief. They couldn't see anyone else. You see, things are rarely what they seem. So much of our suffering comes from believing that we know the entire story. And yet, I just want you to know, we only have a fragment, a tiny fragment of it. Sometimes what looks like a setback, and we may judge it as a setback, becomes a redirection. Sometimes we feel like something has been lost, and we're feeling like loss, and we may judge it as so. But that loss then becomes an opening. Sometimes what appears to be ugly at first, that we may judge to be so, contains living water. And maybe that's what Jesus was saying when he said, "Judge not according to appearances," because appearances don't tell you the whole story. So today, maybe we loosen the grip a little. Maybe today we stop trying to decide so quickly what is good and what is bad, what makes you angry, what makes you frustrated. What if today there was no judgment? Maybe today we trust something greater is unfolding, even when we cannot see it. So today, just for today, we judge nothing that occurs. And maybe we allow life to reveal a bigger story than the one we're trying to rewrite ourselves. Well, until next time, I'm keeping the faith for you. God bless you.